Captain Lee Dong-woo pressed his face against the cold metal window of his scout ship Aurora and stared at the massive structures floating in space. 3 months had passed since humanity first traveled faster than light, and now he was seeing something that made his hands shake. Giant metal rings circled a dead planet like the bones of some cosmic beast. Each ring was bigger than Earth's moon, and strange lights pulsed along their surfaces like a heartbeat. "Command, this is Aurora," Lee spoke into his radio. "I found something big out here in the Vega system, really big." His ship's computer started making warning sounds. Red lights flashed on his control panel. Something was pulling his ship toward Deer. The rings and his engines could not fight against it. Lee tried to turn the ship around, but nothing worked. An invisible force grabbed the Aurora like a giant hand and pulled it closer to the alien structures. "Command, I am being pulled in by some kind of beam. I cannot escape. If you do not hear from me again, tell my family I love them." The radio went silent. Lee's ship passed through one of the giant rings, and everything around him changed. The inside of the ring was hollow and filled with more alien ships than he could count. They looked like sharp crystals made of black metal, and they moved without making any sound. His small human ship looked like a toy next to them. One of the crystal ships came close to the Aurora. A bright light surrounded Lee's ship, and he felt a strange tingling in his body. Then something impossible happened. Words appeared in his mind, but they were not his own thoughts. The words felt cold and ancient. "Small flesh creature, you pilot. A vessel unknown to us. Your species is not in our records. Explain your existence." Lee's heart beat so fast he thought it might stop. He was talking to aliens, real aliens. He took a deep breath and spoke out loud, hoping they could hear him. "My name is Lee Dong-woo. I am human. We come from a planet called Earth. We just learned how to travel between stars." A long silence followed. Then the alien voice returned, and it sounded surprised. "Impossible. No species has developed faster-than-light travel independently in 50,000 cycles. You must be rebels using stolen hegemony technology." "I do not know what the hegemony is," Lee said. "We built our ships ourselves. We are explorers, not rebels." Another silence. This time it lasted so long that Lee wondered if the aliens had left. But then his ship shook, and he felt the same tingling feeling again. This time it was stronger, and it made his head hurt. "Your genetic pattern is unknown. Your technology is primitive yet functional. This requires investigation. You will remain here while we contact the Hegemony Council." Lee's ship was moved into a large chamber inside the ring. He could see other ships there too, but they all looked different from human ships. Some were smooth and curved like shells. Others had many arms that moved like tentacles. All of them looked old and damaged, as if they had been there for a very long time. Days passed. Lee ate his emergency food and drank recycled water while he waited. He tried to contact Earth, but something blocked his radio signals. He was alone with only the alien voice that sometimes spoke to him. The voice asked many questions about humanity, about Earth, about their technology. Lee answered as best he could, but he did not tell them everything. Something about the aliens made him feel afraid. On the 5th day, the space around the rings filled with new ships. These ships were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. They moved in perfect formation like dancers in the sky. Lee counted more than 50 of them, and each one could probably destroy his entire ship with a single shot. The largest ship was silver and gold, and it had symbols carved into its hull that seemed to move and change. A new voice spoke to Lee, and this one felt different from the first alien. It felt older and more powerful. Human called Lee Dong-woo, "I am Ambassador Velthara of the Kethmori, speakers for the Hegemony Council. You have created a situation that has not occurred for millennia. Your species has violated the natural order by developing space travel without our permission." "We did not know we needed permission," Lee said. "We have never met any aliens before. Today." "Ignorance is not an excuse. The galaxy belongs to the hegemony. All species must serve under our guidance or they must be removed. This has been the law for 50,000 Earth years." Lee felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean by removed?" "We mean extinction, human. Your species will submit to hegemony rule, or your species will cease to exist. We have done this many times before. We do not enjoy it, but the galaxy must remain stable. Before Lee could answer, new ships appeared in the distance. These ships looked familiar, and Lee's heart jumped with hope. They were human ships, led by the UES Defiance, the largest warship humanity had ever built. Admiral Hyan Taemin had come to rescue him. Ambassador Velthara, a new human voice spoke over the radio. This is Admiral Hyan Taemin of the United Earth Forces. I demand the immediate release of Captain Lee Dongwu. The alien ambassador made a sound that might have been laughter. Admiral Hyan Taemin, you command impressive vessels for such a young species. But you have brought 12 ships against 500. Do you truly wish to fight us? I wish to talk, Admiral Hyan said. Captain Lee is under my protection. Return him to us, and we can discuss this situation like civilized beings. Very well. Your captain will be returned to you. But first, you must hear the choice that faces your species. Lee's ship was released from the alien chamber. As he flew back toward the human fleet, he could see how small they looked next to the alien ships. The UES Defiance was humanity's greatest achievement, but it looked like a child's toy compared to the Kethmori vessels. He docked with the Defiance and was quickly brought to the bridge. Admiral Hyan was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. Standing next to him was Dr. Park Sojin, a scientist who specialized in alien life. There was also Kim Nara, the ship's communications officer, who was trying to understand the alien language. Captain Lee, Admiral Hyan said, what did you learn about these aliens? They call themselves the Kethmori, and they rule something called the hegemony, Lee said. They have controlled the galaxy for thousands of years. They say we cannot exist without their permission. Dr. Park Sojin looked at her computer screen. I have been analyzing their ships. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. But something is strange. Their designs look very old, as if they have not changed anything in a long time. Ambassador Velthara's voice filled the bridge. Humans, you have heard your captain's report. Now you must choose. Submit to hegemony rule, and your species will be allowed to serve us. You will have food, shelter, and peace, but you will never again travel between stars without our permission. You will never again develop new technology without our approval. You will exist, but you will not be free. And if we refuse, Admiral Hyan asked, then you will be eliminated. We have done this to 47 species who refused our offer. Some of them had technology almost as advanced as yours. All of them are now extinct. We will destroy your homeworld and every human colony. Your species will become a forgotten memory. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood the terrible choice they faced. Submit to slavery or face total destruction. Dr. Park Sojin whispered to Admiral Hyan. Sir, I noticed something about their technology. It is very advanced, but it is also very old. They might be powerful, but they might also be stuck. Admiral. Hyan nodded slowly. He opened a channel to Earth. Command, this is Admiral Hyan. We have made contact with a hostile alien empire. They are demanding our surrender, or they will destroy humanity. I am sending all data back to Earth. The decision must be made by our government, not by me. We will give you time to consider, Ambassador Velthara said. You have 7 of your Earth days to decide. Choose wisely, humans. The galaxy has room for servants, but no room for rebels. The alien fleet disappeared as quickly as it had arrived, leaving only the massive rings around the dead planet. The human ships turned toward home, carrying news that would change everything. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and their new neighbors wanted them dead or enslaved. As they traveled back to Earth, Admiral Hyan stared out at the stars and wondered if humanity would still exist in a week. The choice seemed impossible, but he knew his species. Humans had never been good at accepting slavery, even when the alternative was death. 6 months after the ultimatum, the Kethmori fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a storm of death. 500 alien ships moved in perfect formation toward humanity's home, their black crystal hulls reflecting the light of the sun. On Earth, every person looked up at the sky and knew their world might end today. General Choi Min-ho stood in the command center deep beneath the surface of Earth, watching the screens that showed the approaching enemy. His face was calm, but his hands were shaking. 6 months was not enough time to build a proper defense against aliens who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, but humanity had tried anyway. "All ships report ready for battle," said Admiral Hyun Tae-min from his position on the UES. Defiance. The human fleet had grown from 12 ships to nearly 200, but they were still outnumbered badly. Every ship was filled with new weapons that engineer Yoon Hae-won had built using pieces of alien technology that Captain Lee had secretly scanned during his capture. Yoon Hae-won worked in her laboratory until the last moment, installing new shield generators and weapons systems. Her team had worked without sleep for months, combining human engineering with alien science. The results looked promising in tests, but no one knew if they would work against real Keth Mori ships. "Remember the plan," Admiral Hyun said to his fleet. "We cannot fight them in open space. We use hit-and-run tactics, strike fast, retreat faster. Make them chase us through the asteroid belt and around the planets. Dr. Park's computer virus must reach their command ship." Dr. Park So-jin sat at her computer station, her fingers dancing over the keyboard. She had discovered something amazing during her study of alien technology. Keth Mori computers used quantum processing, just like the newest human systems. This meant human computer viruses could affect alien systems, but only if they could get close enough to upload them. Kim Nara monitored all communications from her position on the bridge. She had learned enough of the Keth Mori language to understand their basic commands. This would help the human fleet know what the aliens were planning. "Enemy fleet is splitting into attack groups," Kim Nara reported. "I can hear them talking about quick victory and weak human resistance." Captain Seo Ji-hoon waited in his new stealth frigate, the Ghost of Terra. His ship was covered in special materials that made it nearly invisible to alien sensors. 20 other stealth ships hid in the shadow of Earth's moon, ready to attack, when the aliens least expected it. The Keth Mori sent a final message before the battle began. Ambassador Velthara's voice reached every human ship and every radio on Earth. "Humans, your 7 days have passed. Your leaders have chosen death over service. We do not understand this choice, but we will respect it. Your species will be remembered. As brave fools, prepare for your end." "All ships, this is Admiral Hyun," came the reply. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the right of all species to be free. Show these ancient tyrants what happens when they threaten humanity." The first alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere, their weapons charging with deadly energy. But as they descended, hidden missile batteries on Earth's surface opened fire. Hundreds of rockets streaked upward, each one carrying explosives designed by Yoon Hae-won to penetrate alien shields. Most of the missiles were destroyed by alien defense systems, but some got through. 3 Keth Mori ships exploded in bright flashes of light, their debris falling into Earth's oceans. It was the first alien blood humanity had drawn, and it felt like victory, but the celebration was short. The alien fleet responded with overwhelming force. Energy beams struck Earth's surface, turning cities into glass and melting mountains into slag. Millions of humans died in the first few minutes of the attack. "All fleet units, engage the enemy," Admiral Hyun ordered. "Do not let them destroy our home." The human ships attacked from all directions, using their smaller size and better maneuverability to avoid the massive alien weapons. Captain Lee led a squadron of fighters between the legs of a giant Keth Mori battleship, firing at its weak points. His weapons barely scratched the alien hull, but they got the ship's attention. "This is not working," General Choi reported from Earth's command center. "Our weapons are too weak. We need to try something else." Dr. Park had been waiting for this moment. "Captain Seo, are you ready to upload the virus?" Captain Seo Ji-hoon's stealth ship moved through the alien fleet like a ghost invisible to their sensors. He approached the largest Keth Mori ship, a massive vessel that seemed to command all the others. His ship was so small compared to the alien battleship that he could land on its hull without being noticed. "I am attaching to their command ship. Now," Seo reported, "beginning virus upload." Dr. Park's computer virus was not like the simple programs humans usually created. This virus was designed to think and learn, to spread through alien computer networks and cause maximum chaos. As soon as it entered the Keth Mori command ship, it began to work. The effect was immediate. Lights began flashing on alien ships. Their perfect formation broke apart as ships lost communication with each other. Some ships stopped moving entirely, while others began firing at their own allies. "The virus is working!" Kim Na-Ra shouted, with excitement. "I can hear confusion in their communications. They do not know what is happening." But the aliens adapted quickly. Ambassador Velthara's ship isolated itself from the infected network and began giving orders through old-fashioned radio signals. Within minutes, most of the alien fleet was back under control. "Clever humans," Velthara said over the radio. "You have shown us that underestimating you was a mistake. But your trick will not work twice." The battle became more desperate. Human ships exploded under alien fire, their crews dying in the cold vacuum of space. The UES Defiance took heavy damage when 3 alien ships focused their weapons on it. Admiral Heon was thrown from his command chair when an explosion shook the bridge. "Sir, we have lost 80% of our fleet," reported his tactical officer. "We cannot win this battle." But Admiral Heon had one more plan. "All remaining ships form up on the Defiance. We are going to ram their command ship." "Sir, that is suicide," his crew protested. "Maybe," Admiral Heon said, "but if we can take out their leader, maybe the rest of their fleet will retreat." The surviving human ships gathered around the damaged Defiance and accelerated toward Ambassador Velthara's massive battleship. The alien ship was 10 times larger than any human vessel, but the humans were not trying to win a fair fight. Yoon Hai-wan had saved her best surprise for last. As the human ships approached the alien command vessel, she activated special charges that had been hidden in their hulls. The charges created artificial black holes that lasted for only a few seconds, but those seconds were enough. The space around the alien command ship twisted and bent. The massive battleship was pulled in different directions by forces it could not resist. Metal screamed as the ship was torn apart by gravity itself. Ambassador Velthara's final message was filled with shock and rage. "Impossible! How do humans possess singularity weapons? This technology should not exist." The command ship exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth's surface. But the victory came at a terrible cost. Only 30 human ships survived. The battle and Earth's surface was scarred with craters where alien weapons had struck. General Choi stood in the ruins of Seoul and looked up at the sky. Pieces of alien ships fell like metal rain, but they were not the only things falling. Human ships also burned as they entered the atmosphere, carrying the bodies of heroes who had died defending their world. "Did we win?" asked a young soldier, who had lost his arm in the fighting. General Choi was quiet for a long time. "We survived," he finally said, "and sometimes that is the same thing as winning." News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. For the first time in 50,000 years, someone had defeated a Kethmori fleet in open battle. The victory was small and costly, but it was real. On distant worlds, alien slaves who had given up hope began to whisper about the humans who had said no to the hegemony. In hidden places throughout the galaxy, resistance groups that had been dormant for centuries began to stir. Dr. Park So-jin worked to decode the data they had stolen from the alien ships during the battle. What she found would change everything. The Kethmori were not the original rulers of the galaxy. They had stolen their power from someone else, and they lived in constant fear that another species would do to them what they had done to their predecessors. "Admiral," Dr. Park said to Yon as he recovered from his injuries, "I think we just started something much bigger than a war between humans and aliens." Admiral Yon looked at the data and smiled for the first time since the battle. "Good," he said. "It is time for the galaxy to change." 1 year after the siege of Seoul, Commander Oh Soo-bin crouched behind a broken piece of metal in an asteroid mining station and listened to the sound of Kethmori patrol ships searching for human survivors. Her team of 20 resistance fighters had been living in the cold darkness of space for months, moving from one hidden base to another like ghosts. Earth was under blockade now. Giant alien ships surrounded humanity's home world, letting nothing in or out. The few human colonies scattered across nearby star systems were on their own, cut off from help and slowly starving. The Kethmori thought they could crush humanity by making them hungry and afraid. "Commander, we have movement on the scanner," whispered Corporal Kim, her second in command. "3 alien scouts heading this way." Oh Subin made hand signals to her team. They had learned to communicate without speaking because sound carried far in the emptiness of space stations. Her fighters moved like shadows, taking positions behind old mining equipment and broken walls. The Kethmori scouts entered the abandoned mining station with their weapons ready. They moved in perfect formation, just like their ships in space. But they were looking for a traditional enemy, not desperate humans who had learned to fight like wild animals. Oh Subin's team struck without warning. Stolen alien weapons fired from hidden positions, cutting down the scouts before they could call for help. The resistance fighters moved quickly to strip the bodies of equipment and ammunition, then disappeared into the maze of tunnels that ran through the asteroid. "Another successful hunt," said Private Lee as they counted their stolen supplies. "But this is only enough food for a few days." Oh Subin nodded grimly. Her resistance cell, called Iron Phoenix, had grown from 5 survivors to over 200 people living in hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt. But keeping them fed and armed was becoming impossible. They needed help, and help was coming. From the most unexpected source, Bae Young-sik was the most wanted human in the galaxy, and he was proud of it. His modified cargo ship, the Lucky Dragon, could slip past Kethmori patrols like smoke through a net. He had painted his ship matte, black, and covered it with sensor-absorbing materials that made it nearly invisible to alien detection systems. "Control, this is Lucky Dragon requesting permission to dock," Bae said into his radio as he approached an asteroid that looked empty and dead from the outside. "Lucky Dragon, you are cleared for docking Bay 7, came the reply. "Watch out for the patrol that just passed through Sector 4. Bae smiled as he guided his ship into a hidden opening in the asteroid. Inside was a bustling base where hundreds of humans worked to keep the resistance alive. But these were not the only people here. Standing near the docking bay were beings that definitely were not human. The first aliens to contact humanity's resistance were the Veltani, a species that looked like humans crossed with dolphins. They had smooth blue-green skin and large black eyes, and they breathed water instead of air. They had to wear special suits to survive in human atmospheres, but they had risked everything to reach out to the human rebellion. "Bae Young-sik," said the lead Veltani through a translation device, "we bring you weapons and medical supplies from our hidden colonies. Our people remember what freedom felt like before the Kethmori came." Kang Yunji served as the main translator and diplomat between humans and their new alien allies. She had learned to speak 7 different alien languages in the past year, and she was working on 3 more. The job was exhausting, but it was also the most important work being done in the galaxy. "The Veltani bring news," Kang Yunji told Commander Oh Subin. 12 more species have sent secret messages asking to join the resistance. Word of our victory at Earth has spread farther than we thought. Oh Subin studied the star charts that showed locations of alien colonies willing to help the resistance. "How many species are we talking about?" "At least 30, Kang Yunji replied. "Maybe more. Some of them have been waiting for someone to fight the Kethmori for hundreds of years. The resistance was growing into something bigger than anyone had imagined." Bae Young-sik's smuggling network had become known as the Underground Railroad, helping enslaved aliens escape to human-protected space. Every week, more alien refugees arrived at hidden human bases, bringing knowledge and skills that made the resistance stronger. Admiral Hyun Tae-min worked from a secret command center, built inside a rogue planet that drifted between star systems. The planet had no sun, and its surface was frozen solid, but deep underground it was warm enough for humans to live. From here, he coordinated resistance activities across dozens of star systems. "Dr. Park, what have you learned from the alien database we captured?" Admiral Hyun asked during their daily briefing. Dr. Park So-jin looked tired but excited. "The information is incredible, Admiral. The Kethmori are not the original rulers of the galaxy. They overthrew a much older civilization called the Builders about 60,000 years ago." "What happened to the Builders?" Admiral Hyun asked. "That is the strange part," Dr. Park said. "According to these records, the Builders did not fight back. They just disappeared. The Kethmori found empty cities and abandoned technology, but no bodies. It was as if an entire galactic civilization simply walked away." Admiral Hyun studied the data with growing excitement. And the Keth Mori have been afraid that someone would do the same thing to them? Exactly. Dr. Park nodded. That is why they destroy or enslave any species that develops advanced technology. They live in constant fear that the builders will return, or that someone else will become powerful enough to challenge them. Captain Lee Dongwu entered the command center carrying a message that had just arrived from one of Bai Young-sik's smuggling runs. Admiral, we have a problem. The Keth Mori are planning something big. Our alien allies say patrol activity has increased by 300% in the last week. What kind of operation requires that many ships? Admiral Hyun wondered aloud. The answer came 2 days later when Keth Mori fleets began attacking human refugee camps throughout the galaxy. They were not trying to capture resistance fighters anymore. They were trying to kill every human they could find, along with any alien who had helped them. This is genocide, said Commander Oh Soo-bin, as she watched reports of destroyed human settlements. They are trying to wipe us out completely. But the Keth Mori had made a serious mistake. By attacking human civilians, they had proven to every alien species in the galaxy that the hegemony was not interested in peace or stability. They were only interested in maintaining their power through terror. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Species that had been neutral in the conflict suddenly began sending weapons and supplies to the resistance. Star systems that had been loyal to the hegemony for thousands of years declared their independence. The galaxy was rising up, and humanity was the spark that had started the fire. Bai Young-sik found himself running more than just weapons and supplies. His ship became a mobile command center that carried messages between resistance groups on dozens of worlds. The Underground Railroad had become the communication network that held the growing rebellion together. Young-sik, said his co-pilot, as they approached another hidden base. We are getting reports of Keth Mori ships deserting their fleets. Apparently some of their own people are tired of being tyrants. Good, Bai replied. Maybe we can show them that the galaxy is big enough. For everyone, as long as everyone is free. Kang Un-ji worked day and night to maintain communication between the dozens of species that were now part of the Resistance Alliance. Each species had different needs and different ways of thinking, but they were all united by one simple idea. They wanted to be free to choose their own destiny. The Thyler have offered to share their shield technology with us, she reported to Admiral Hyun. In exchange, they want our help protecting their homeworld from Keth Mori retaliation. Agreed, Admiral Hyun said without hesitation. We are all in this together now. Dr. Park So-jin made the most important discovery yet while studying builder technology that the Resistance had found on an abandoned world. Admiral, I think I know why the builders disappeared. They did not die or run away. They evolved beyond the need for physical bodies. What do you mean? Admiral Hyun asked. The builders became beings of pure energy. They left their technology behind because they no longer needed it. But according to these records, they left instructions. The technology will activate again when a species proves worthy of inheriting the galaxy. Admiral Hyun felt a chill run down his spine. How does a species prove worthy? Dr. Park smiled. By uniting the galaxy in freedom instead of enslaving it in fear. Commander Oh Soo-bin led another successful raid against a Keth Mori supply depot, but this time her team included Veltani water fighters and Thyler energy specialists. The different species worked together perfectly, each contributing their unique abilities to accomplish what none could do alone. As they escaped into hyperspace with stolen Keth Mori weapons, Oh Soo-bin looked at her mixed crew of humans and aliens and realized something important. The Resistance was no longer about humans fighting for survival. It had become about all the free peoples of the galaxy fighting for each other. All units, this is Admiral Hyun, came a message over the Resistance Communication Network. 2 years after first contact, the Hidden Alliance base buzzed with activity from 37 different species working together. Ambassador Lim Jae-sung walked through corridors filled with beings that looked like living crystals, others that floated in tanks of methane gas, and some that communicated through flashing lights on their skin. The diversity was overwhelming, but somehow they were all learning to work as one. Ambassador, the Keth Mori have discovered our base in the Arcturus system, reported Captain Moon Soo-ji as she entered the main briefing room. Her ship, the Unity, was docked outside the asteroid base. It was the first vessel ever crewed by multiple species working as equals, and it had become a symbol of hope throughout the galaxy. Lim Jae-sung nodded grimly. The alliance had grown faster than anyone expected, but so had the risks. Every day brought news of new species joining the rebellion, but it also brought reports of Keth Mori retaliation against civilian populations. "How many people were at the Arcturus base?" he asked. 15,000, Captain Moon replied. Humans, Veltani, Thyler, and Korthak families. The Keth Mori showed no mercy. They destroyed everything. The meeting room fell silent. Representatives from dozens of species sat around a circular table, their various forms of communication creating a complex symphony of sounds, lights, and chemical signals. But they all understood the meaning of what had happened. The Keth Mori were becoming desperate, and desperate enemies were the most dangerous kind. Han Do-hyun stood at a massive holographic display that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Keth Mori's strongholds, while blue dots showed alliance territories. The pattern was clear. The rebellion controlled the outer rim of the galaxy, while the hegemony still held the core worlds where most of the population lived. "We have a strategic problem," Han Do-hyun announced to the assembly. "The Keth Mori control the industrial centers. They can build ships faster than we can capture them. If this war continues much longer, they will simply outlast us." "Then we must end it quickly," said Velthara 9, a Keth Mori defector who had joined the alliance. Her people called her a traitor, but she called herself free. "I know the location of the central archives on Kethmore Prime. If we can capture that facility, we can broadcast the true history of the galaxy to every world at once." The idea was bold and dangerous. Kethmore Prime was the most heavily defended world in the galaxy, protected by thousands of ships and weapon platforms. But it was also the center of the hegemony's power. If the Alliance could strike there successfully, the psychological impact would be enormous. "The archives contain everything," Velthara 9 continued. "Records of every species the Keth Mori have destroyed, evidence of our crimes, and the complete database of builder technology. If the people of the galaxy see this information, many hegemony worlds will switch sides immediately." Captain Moon Suji studied the tactical displays. "My crew has been developing new combat techniques using multi-species coordination. The Unity's human engineers work with Veltani navigators and Thyler energy specialists. We can do things that no single species ship can accomplish." "Show us," said Lim Jae-sung. Captain Moon activated a recording from their last battle. The Unity faced 5 Keth Mori cruisers, odds that should have meant certain death. But the mixed crew used tactics that confused and surprised their enemies. Veltani pilots could navigate through asteroid fields that would destroy normal ships. Thyler engineers could overload weapons beyond their normal limits. Human tacticians could adapt to changing situations faster than Keth Mori commanders expected. "We won that battle because we were unpredictable," Captain Moon explained. "The Keth Mori have been fighting the same way for thousands of years. They do not know how to handle enemies who think differently." Han Do-hyun had been working on something he called Operation Starbreak. It was not just a military plan, but a complete strategy for liberating the galaxy. The operation would coordinate simultaneous uprisings on hundreds of worlds while the main Alliance fleet attacked Kethmore Prime. "The key is timing," Han Do-hyun explained. "The Keth Mori cannot fight on every front at once. If we strike everywhere at the same time, their forces will be spread too thin to be effective anywhere." But the Alliance faced serious internal problems. Some species wanted only to break free from the hegemony and hide in remote parts of the galaxy. Others wanted to replace the Keth Mori as the new rulers. The debates grew heated as different species argued about what victory should look like. "We did not start this war to become new tyrants," Lim Jae-sung said during one particularly difficult session. "If we replace one empire with another, we will have learned nothing from history." "Easy words from humans," snapped a representative. "Of the Korthak, a warrior species that had been enslaved for 3,000 years. Your people have been free for most of their existence. Some of us remember what it was like to rule ourselves, and we want that back." The argument continued for hours, with translation devices working overtime to carry insults and accusations between species that had never been allies before. But slowly, a consensus emerged. The galaxy needed a new form of government, one that allowed each species to rule itself while working together for mutual defense and exploration. A federation, suggested Dr. Park So-jin, who had joined the Alliance after escaping from Earth during the blockade. Each species keeps control of their own worlds, but we share resources and knowledge for the benefit of all. The idea was radical. Nothing like it had ever existed in galactic history. But as the representatives discussed the possibilities, excitement began to build. A galaxy where diversity was celebrated instead of suppressed, where new ideas were encouraged instead of forbidden. Admiral Hyun Tae-min arrived at the base with disturbing news. The Kethmori are planning to use an ancient weapon against Earth. Our intelligence sources say it is something called the Star Killer, a device left behind by the builders. The Star Killer was designed to destroy entire solar systems. Velthera 9 explained. The builders created it as a last resort against an enemy that no longer exists. The Kethmori found it 60,000 years ago, but they were afraid to use it because they did not fully understand how it worked. What changed their minds? Lim Jae-sung asked. Desperation, Admiral Hyun replied. Our resistance has inspired too many uprisings. They are losing control of the galaxy, and they think destroying Earth will break the spirit of the rebellion. The Alliance had to act quickly. Operation Starbreak was moved up by several months, even though many systems were not ready. The risk was enormous, but the alternative was the destruction of humanity's home world. Captain Moon Suji prepared the Unity for its most dangerous mission yet. Her crew now included members from 15 different species, each bringing unique skills to the integrated team. They would lead the assault on Kethmor Prime, while the main Alliance fleet created a distraction. Remember, we are not trying to conquer the Kethmori homeworld, Captain Moon told her crew. We are trying to liberate it. Many of the people living there are slaves from other species. They are potential allies, not enemies. Engineer Yoon Hai-wan had been working with Thyler technicians to create new weapons specifically designed to disable Kethmori ships without destroying them. The Alliance needed to capture vessels intact, not just blow them up. Every ship they could turn to their side would save thousands of lives. The quantum disruptors are ready, Yoon Hai-wan reported. They will scramble Kethmori control systems without damaging life support. We can capture entire fleets if this works properly. Han Do-hyun coordinated the massive operation from the Alliance Command Center. Signals went out to resistance cells on hundreds of worlds, each group ready to strike at the same moment. The synchronization was critical. If the uprisings began too early, the Kethmori would have time to respond. If they began too late, the main fleet would be fighting alone. All units, this is command. Han Do-hyun spoke into the galaxy-wide communication network. Operation Starbreak begins in 1 hour. Remember, we fight not for conquest, but for freedom. Good luck to all of you. Lim Jae-sung stood in the command center and watched as hundreds of Alliance ships prepared to jump to hyperspace. The fleet included vessels from every member species, each one painted with the symbol of the Alliance, a circle of stars representing unity in diversity. Ambassador, said a young human officer, are you sure this will work? Lim Jae-sung thought about the question. 2 years ago, humanity had been alone in the galaxy, facing extinction at the hands of an ancient empire. Now they were part of an alliance that spanned thousands of worlds and included species that had been enemies for millennia. I am sure of one thing, he replied. We are no longer fighting just for humanity's survival. We are fighting for the right of every species in the galaxy to choose its own path. That is worth any risk. The countdown reached 0. Across the galaxy, the largest coordinated military operation in galactic history began. On Veltani waterworlds, resistance fighters emerged from hidden ocean bases. On Thylar energy platforms, saboteurs disabled Kethmori installations. On 1,000 different worlds, the enslaved peoples of the galaxy rose up as one. And in the depths of space, the Unity led a fleet of Alliance ships toward the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. 3 years after first contact, Fleet Admiral Hyun Tae-min stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the Black Fleet emerge from hyperspace around Kethmor Prime. 500 ships painted in matte black moved in perfect silence through the darkness, their surfaces absorbing energy instead of reflecting it. They looked like pieces of space itself come to life. The Black Fleet was humanity's greatest contribution to the Alliance Armada, but it was no longer purely human. Each ship carried mixed crews from dozens of species, united by their determination to end the hegemony's reign of terror. The fleet had earned its fearsome reputation through 3 years of successful raids, and now it was time for the final battle. "All ships report ready for combat," announced Captain Seo Ji-hoon from his position commanding the stealth assault group. His ships were the ghosts of the fleet, invisible until they struck. Behind them came the main battle groups, led by the A Unity and its mixed-species crew. Kethmore Prime hung before them like a jewel of gold and silver, surrounded by defensive platforms that could destroy planets. The homeworld of the Keth Mori was the most beautiful and most deadly place in the galaxy. It had never been successfully attacked in 60,000 years of galactic history. "Admiral, we are detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface," reported Kim Nara from her position at the communications station. "They are charging the Starkiller weapon." Fleet Admiral Hyan felt his heart grow cold. The ancient builder weapon was powerful enough to destroy Earth's entire solar system, and the Keth Mori were desperate enough to use it. The Alliance had minutes, not hours, to stop them. "All units, emergency acceleration to combat range," Admiral Hyan ordered. "We must reach the surface before they can fire that weapon." The Black Fleet surged forward, their engines burning with fury. Around them, the Alliance Armada followed, ships from 37 different species moving as one toward their greatest challenge. But as they approached Kethmore Prime, something unexpected happened. Dr. Park So-jin had been broadcasting on all frequencies for the past week, sending the true history of the galaxy to every world that could receive it. The message contained proof of the Keth Mori's crimes, evidence of the genocide they had committed, and the location of enslaved populations throughout the hegemony. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Keth Mori defense fleets that should have protected their homeworld began switching sides. Entire squadrons of warships turned their weapons against their former masters. The galaxy was rising up, and the revolution had reached the very heart of the hegemony. "Admiral, this is Captain Velker of the Keth Mori 4th Fleet. Came a transmission from one of the defecting commanders. "My ships are at your disposal. We have waited too long to be free of the High Council's tyranny." But not all the defenders were willing to surrender. High Overlord Zarthul commanded the forces still loyal to the old regime, and he would rather see the galaxy burn than lose his power. His personal fleet of the most fanatical Keth Mori warriors formed a defensive wall around the Starkiller. Installation. "Humans and their slave allies," Zarthul's voice boomed across all communication channels. "You have brought chaos to our ordered galaxy. We will restore stability by erasing your species from existence." Captain Moon Suji guided the Unity through the battle, her mixed crew working with perfect coordination. Veltani navigators found paths through the defensive fire that seemed impossible. Thyler energy specialists overcharged the ship's weapons to impossible levels. Human tacticians adapted to the changing battle in real time. "Target the Starkiller. Charging stations," Captain Moon ordered. "If we can disrupt the energy flow, the weapon cannot fire." The Unity dove toward the planet's surface, followed by a dozen other Alliance ships. They flew through clouds of defensive fire, their hulls glowing red-hot from near misses. Several ships were destroyed in the descent, their crews dying to save Earth and countless other worlds. Captain Seo Ji-hoon's stealth ships had already reached the surface. They attacked the Starkiller installation from unexpected angles, their weapons designed by engineer Yoon Hai-wan to disable rather than destroy. The ancient builder technology was too valuable to waste in mindless destruction. "We have disabled 3 of the 7 charging stations," Captain Seo reported. "But the weapon is still building power. We need more time." Time was something they did not have. High Overlord Zarthul's flagship, a massive vessel called the Eternal Dominion, broke through the Alliance lines and descended toward the planet. The ship was larger than a human city and armed with weapons that could level mountains. "All ships, concentrate fire on the Eternal Dominion," Admiral Hyan ordered. "Do not let it reach the surface." But Zarthul had one final surprise. As Alliance ships surrounded his vessel, he activated a suicide protocol that would turn his ship into a giant bomb. The explosion would not only destroy the Starkiller installation, but also crack the planet's crust and kill billions of civilians. "This is Admiral Hyan to all Alliance forces," came the unexpected announcement. "I am going to ram the Eternal Dominion. Do not follow me. Complete the mission." "Sir, that is suicide," protested his crew. "Maybe," Admiral Hyan replied with a sad smile. "But someone has to stop that madman, and this is the only way." The UES Defiance, heavily damaged but still functional, accelerated directly toward the Eternal Dominion. But as Admiral Hyan prepared for his final sacrifice, something incredible happened. The space around both ships began to shimmer with strange energy. Dr. Park So-jin had made the most important discovery in galactic history while studying the Builder archives. The ancient civilization had not simply disappeared. They had evolved beyond physical form, becoming beings of pure energy who watched over the galaxy from a higher dimension. "The Builders," Dr. Park whispered in amazement as translucent figures appeared throughout the battle zone. "They have returned!" The energy beings moved between the fighting ships like ghosts of light. Their message was transmitted directly into the minds of every conscious being in the system, regardless of species or language. "Children of the galaxy," the Builders communicated, "the time of judgment has come. One species seeks to dominate through fear and oppression. Another seeks to unite through freedom and cooperation. We have observed your choices, and we have made our decision." The Starkiller weapon suddenly shut down, its ancient systems responding to Builder commands. High Overlord Zarthel's ship was frozen in space, its weapons disabled by forces beyond his understanding. Around the planet, automated systems that had been dormant for 60,000 years began to activate. The Kethmori proved unworthy when they chose conquest over cooperation, the Builders continued. The alliance of free species has proven worthy by choosing unity over dominion. We grant to you the inheritance we prepared long ago. Across the galaxy, Builder installations came online. Ancient shipyards began producing vessels of incredible capability. Terraforming stations started preparing dead worlds for new life. The technology to feed, house, and transport billions of beings became available to all species equally. But the most important gift was knowledge. The Builders shared the complete history of the galaxy, showing how civilizations rose and fell, based on their choices. They provided the wisdom needed to avoid the mistakes of the past. Captain Moon Suji landed the Unity on Kethmore Prime and led a team to secure the Central Archives. But instead of conquering the facility, they protected it. The archives contained the records of every species in the galaxy, and that knowledge belonged to everyone. "People of Kethmore Prime," Captain Moon announced over the planetary communication system, "you are free. The age of the hegemony is over. The age of the Galactic Concordat begins today." The response was not what anyone expected. Instead of celebrating, many of the planet's inhabitants seemed confused and afraid. They had lived under authoritarian rule for so long that freedom felt strange and frightening. Ambassador Lim Jae-sung worked with representatives from every alliance species to establish the new government. The Galactic Concordat was unlike anything that had existed before. Each species governed itself, but they shared resources, knowledge, and protection for the benefit of all. "We must be patient," Lim Jae-sung told the Concordat Council during their first meeting. "Freedom is not something you can give to people. It is something they must choose for themselves." Engineer Yoon Hae-won studied the Builder technology with teams of scientists from dozens of species. The ancient machines could solve every problem the galaxy faced: hunger, disease, poverty, even death itself. But the Builders had included safeguards to prevent any one species from monopolizing their gifts. "The technology only works when species cooperate," Yoon Hae-won explained to the council. "If we try to use it for selfish purposes, it shuts down automatically. The Builders designed it to encourage unity, not division." 5 years later, Fleet Admiral Hyan Tae-min stood on the observation deck of a new exploration ship and watched mixed crews of humans and aliens prepare for humanity's greatest adventure yet. The Black Fleet had become the Concordat Exploration Service, and their mission was to discover what lay beyond the galaxy's edge. "Admiral, all ships report ready for transgalactic jump," reported Captain Seo Ji-hoon from the bridge of the lead vessel.